Home organization is a really challenging project, but what makes it so challenging is some areas of the home that are maybe harder than others, such as paper clutter. Hi, I'm Sandy, professional organizer. Welcome to my channel where you're going to find tips and resources on all things home organization. One of the big challenges with paper clutter is that it is so deceptive. And what I'm talking about here is that you can stack up your paper one right on top of the other, and it is really deceptive of how many pieces of paper are in that stack. Each sheet truly represents an action item that you have to take on, and that can become very overwhelming. This seems to be a universal problem across the board, and many people feel so overwhelmed with the volume of paper that they have in their homes. This volume of paper causes frustration, anxiety, even depression, and of course, overwhelm. In this video, I want to talk to you about 3 costs of paper clutter. And then I'm going to get into 6 different steps that you need to take in order to maintain and get a handle on your clutter. The first cost of paper clutter that I want to highlight is missed opportunities. Each and every one of those pieces of paper that you have lying around in your home is oftentimes an action item. Now, that action item could be discarding it or reading it or actually doing something even deeper. Now, this is a really important thing to realize because those missed opportunities can affect our lives in different ways, or we may have even missed an opportunity to save some money, which leads me into point number 2. The second cost of paper clutter is that you leave money on the table. A lot of times, the paper that we get into our homes can represent a discount, or it could be an early bird special. Since you didn't look at those pieces of papers, the deadline is long gone and you missed out on those discounts. That actually has a financial repercussion to you because you didn't take a look at those pieces of paper. Or looking at it from another example, which also has a financial impact, is maybe you got some bills in the mail and you did not pay them on time. Now that means you're going to incur some late fees unnecessarily just because you didn't go through the paper piles. That is so important to realize that the cost of clutter really does hit your wallet. Another example of a missed opportunity is maybe you got a phone call and you scribble down some really important information from that call onto a post-it note. And guess what? Weeks go by, months even go by, and you cannot find that post-it note with that really important information. That is a missed opportunity altogether, and not to mention all of the frustration that you're going to experience because you cannot find that teeny tiny piece of paper. And the third cost of paper clutter is the cost that it has on your health and your mental health and well-being. Having paper clutter strewn throughout your home can really affect us mentally because we see clutter visually all over the place, and it can weigh on us in very real ways. It can put pressure on our shoulders. It can make us feel very heavy inside and contribute to depression, anxiety, and of course, overwhelm. Now that I've shared the 3 costs of paper clutter, I want to get into what to do about it. There are 6 different steps that I want you to go through. The first one is make sure you take care of it before it even enters your home. This step is really, really important, and that is you want to make sure that you get your name on the do not mail lists. This is so important because you want to make sure that unnecessary paper is not coming to your home. Anytime you order something, a lot of catalogs can come to your home, or maybe even offers for credit cards or insurance policies. Make sure you add your name to the do not mail list so that these things don't come to your home. It's really important to create a system with your papers, and that system has to be daily. If you get into weekly or even monthly, you really are setting yourself up to have piles and piles of paper clutter. So what I recommend is on a daily basis, if that is reasonable to do so, you want to tackle that paper right away. So at the very end of the day, maybe after dinner, what you want to do is look at your mail, and anything that needs to be processed, you need to do some action items with them, tossing them, discarding them, reading them. Take that time every single day to look through those papers. When you make this a habit, you're really gonna see that you're gonna stay on top of that paper and you're not gonna have the overwhelming piles that tend to accumulate. Now, I have a few more suggestions for you, one of which is that you wanna make sure you have 3 different piles when you're going through your paper clutter. The first pile is gonna be the obvious discards, which would really be the papers that there's no action to be had except for to discard it. And then second, you want to have an action pile. Now this pile is going to represent the things that you have to take on later, such as paying a bill or writing a check for something or writing a note. These are things that are going to require you to take further action. And then finally, you want to have a pile for your permanent items. These are going to be things such as contracts, maybe your birth certificate, really important documents that you really don't want to part with. And so that's going to be in that permanent pile. Make tackling the paper clutter a family affair. You better believe that you are not the only one contributing to the paper in your household. So get the other people in your family involved so that they can learn the skills necessary in order to eliminate and maintain the paper clutter. It's so very easy to stack your paper one right after the other. And when you do that, it is so deceptive of how much actual paper you have. So instead of creating neat little tidy piles of all of your action items, why don't you stack them in a different way, but put them upright? When you store your paper upright, it is far less deceptive of how much you have, and you can actually see that you have a lot accumulated. So try to make this little tiny tweak in how you store your papers, and you'll realize that when you have a lot of the papers upright, it's gonna signal to you, hey, I gotta look at my papers. Create some boundaries for your physical paper. One thing that I really like to recommend to my clients is to have a bin, and if your paper exceeds the space of that bin, then that means you absolutely have hit your boundary and you have to go through those papers. Now, the bin can be much smaller. It could actually just be a file folder, or it could actually be a tray that you put all of your papers in. But the important part is that when that tray or that file folder becomes overfilled, that's when you signal to yourself visually that you gotta take care of that paper. And finally, you gotta add some joy to the mix. Make it fun. If your papers aren't a little bit fun, then you're really just gonna drag your feet in addressing your papers. So to make it fun, I have some suggestions for you. You can buy a file folders, or you can have some really pretty bins that you want to store all of your remaining papers for. This ups the joy factor, and it also makes it visually appealing to you, which can also help you in the process of maintaining your papers. Are you now motivated to tackle your paper clutter? I know you are. I gave you some really solid tips here. So the most important thing is to take that knowledge and apply it with action. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and I would love to answer them. If you enjoyed this content, please consider liking this video and also subscribing to my channel so that you can get more resources and tips on home organization.